Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the launch of the Afghanistan-Australian dialogue, which will open the gate for people-to-people contact, hopefully in future. So we started the launch from Brisbane, and we have greater opportunities to arrange our discussion in 2018. Before I go through the purpose of this dialogue, I would like to acknowledge the support which was extended to us in a very short time from Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, from Afghan Community Association in Queensland, and from Australian Institute of International Affairs and Australian Council of Europe, who put their hands together to make this possible, and now we are here to launch our first dialogue. And also I would like to acknowledge the participation of Afghan young leaders here in Australia, which they started their tour from Brisbane, and they will ended up through Sydney and Canberra to Melbourne. Mr. Omid Sharifi, President of the Art Lords, Mr. Asad Zamir, former Minister of Agriculture, and Mr. Lutfullah Najafizadeh, Head of Tulu News TV channel. So please put your hands and welcoming them to this big The biggest aim of the Australia-Afghanistan dialogue is to develop a new paradigm of relationship. You might have known that the Australian-Afghanistan relationship goes beyond 150 years. The time which the cameleers came to this land and contributed their support to the transportation and communication system. That was really opening the gate for Afghans to come to Australia, and their descendants continued that path, and they have their families in both countries. In 1969, we started the first political relationship through non-resident ambassadors, which marks the first time of political relationship between two countries. The next level of contact established when the 9/11 happened in United States, and Australia, as a non-NATO member, contributed their military and security support to United States and joined the coalition in Afghanistan in battle for extremism and terrorism, which marks the biggest direct support and contact to Afghanistan and to its people. The last milestone is this year, April 2017, when the first president officially visited Australia and opened up the gate for broader cooperation beside military and security relationship. And that really opened the possibilities for connection through culture, through other means of communication, agriculture, mining, water management, and many other forms of non-military, non-security assistance, which now we are working to start the implementation. I should also say that, based on the recent census that we have received, and based on some very good contribution from the Afghan Society Association, the total number of Afghans living in Australia is beyond 60,000. So that is the biggest community which we can really mark the beginning of a greater cooperation between these two countries. It turns to its maturity that we can put more efforts to make this possible, and the people-to-people contact would make it more clearer for the Australians who have their sons and daughters served in Afghanistan. The number goes beyond 25,000 people in uniform. And the Australians lost 42 soldiers inside Afghanistan. So this is the biggest reason why the people-to-people contact is necessary, and the societies and communities can get engaged to each other. This dialogue will act at a platform, as a platform to expand, acknowledge, and share our common values to each other. So this will be the good beginning, and I'm really looking forward for more and greater contribution from you for the next events that we might have in 2018. Again, I'm really happy that I was really making this while I'm working as an ambassador in Afghanistan and Australia, and this would be one of our biggest memory for our people and also for the communities that we have in Afghanistan and Australia. Thank you so much.
Just to extend the welcome a little further from the City of Brisbane, Councillor Krista Adams is the Chairperson for Finance and Economic Development and International Affairs with the Brisbane City Council, as well as being the Councillor for Holland Park, and I'm going to ask her to address you as well.
Thank you, Dr. Duffield. It's lovely to be here this afternoon. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners and the land on which we meet here this afternoon, those with us and those past. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Our many distinguished guests, our Consular Corps, Chamber of Commerce and our multicultural community, thank you for joining us here in our beloved Brisbane Square Library. You've come on a very busy time in Brisbane over this day. We've got the Ashes playing at the Gabba, we've got Rugby League tonight, we had the Asia Pacific Screen Awards last night. It's like all happening in Brisbane right now, and of course we've got the Australia-Afghanistan dialogue, which is a very exciting event for today as well. It's my pleasure to be here on behalf of Lord Mayor Graham Quirk. As Dr. Duffield mentioned, I am Finance and Economic Development, but I'm also the Councillor assisting the Lord Mayor in International Relations, and I have a fantastic opportunity to touch base with so many of our multicultural communities within Brisbane, and just like you're doing here today, make sure we keep the lines of dialogue open to learn about how we can better learn from each other and live together, cross-cultural relationships in all those areas. As His Excellency mentioned, 150 plus years of relationships with Afghanistan and Australia, starting with the cameleers, and interesting, our largest source of permanent migrants, nearly 70,000 from Afghanistan, which is something you probably don't think about every day. We are a community of cultures from all over the world here in Brisbane, and we actually pride ourselves on having that multicultural background here as well. The strength of our city is not in our size, so we're not as big as Melbourne and we're not as big as Sydney, but they're so 50 years ago. It's all about happening in Brisbane now. Our strength is actually in our multiculturalism. We have 208 different countries represented in Brisbane. We have a total of 211 different languages at home, and we have over 110 diverse world religions. So we know that about 28% of Brisbane residents were born overseas. That is a large part of our population here that are sharing their wonderful cultures, everything from their food, their music and their politics to become the melting pot that is Brisbane City. And of course, we do that with total harmony and diversity and unification here in Brisbane as well. One of the things that I'm involved in my role here in Council, and one of our driving forces in championing these cross-cultural collaborations, is our Lord Mayor's Multicultural Roundtable, and that's been established since 2005. And we have initiatives on that roundtable like our Business Scholarship and Mentoring Scheme that I encourage you, if you're interested in getting involved, any young entrepreneurs or business people getting started in Brisbane, they don't need to be that young either, that want that support on setting up in Brisbane and that economic support. We've got the program program now in its third year for the mentoring, and we've had nearly 300 recipients of that scholarship and mentoring program. So please, if you know anybody that would like to be involved in that, reach out to me or to Brisbane City Council. Because, as I said, one of our things we're very proud of here is our friendliness and our generosity to those who come to our shores to share in this beautiful lifestyle here. The dialogue that you'll have here today will act as a platform for expanding that relationship, which is really exciting, and those new levels of cooperations in areas that are relevant to both of our countries. And these type of dialogues are really important for us, not just in Brisbane but across Australia, to identify all of those future cooperations that are possible as well, whether it's at an intergovernment level or it's just about people-to-people awareness and understanding with our citizens here in Australia as well. It is actually starting to warm up here in Brisbane, so summer is starting to arrive. So I hope while you're here, if you're from interstate or out of the city, that you take the opportunity to see the wonderful Brisbane, our new world city. It is Christmas. There's a lot of things happening on top of all those sporting events as well. I really hope you enjoy your stay. You get a lot out of the dialogue here, and I'm very, very proud to be hosting this in Brisbane City Council, and best of luck for the dialogue. Thank you.